Society is done with Gen Z. So we can see what's happening right now, where as a society, most people are moving away from Gen Z. They did a career builder survey where they polled 1,000 employers, and they found 40% of employers back in 2022 would avoid hiring Gen Z. So 40% admitted that they don't even hire Gen Zers. They will not hire Gen Zers. That was 2 years ago. Fast forward 2 years later, we can really say that number has likely gone up significantly. So it may be 50, 60, even 70% right now. Although most Gen Zers don't give a damn because they've essentially given up and give it and surrender themselves to mediocrity. I've said this before and I'll say it again. They are the sleeping and farting generation. All they do is really sleep, eat, drink, so get drunk, smoke cigarettes, vape, smoke weed, use other illicit substances, play video games, play with themselves, fart, and then do it all again the next day. That's essentially Gen Z and very empty and useless existence. These people are extremely problematic for society. They are not the future. We need to make plans around them. Don't expect anything good from them. When millennials came into the workforce, they were basically said that, they were weak, they were too sensitive, and they were basically shamed and picked on by the boomers. In the case of Gen Z is not competent. They lack proper hard skills and soft skills. It's very difficult to communicate with them or speak to them. And when something goes wrong, they will disappear. That's if they even show up for work. This is how Gen Z behaves. They are a very dishonest generation. Now, let me make this very clear. Just because your employer is dishonest doesn't mean you can steal from your employer. Okay? Just because you don't like your job doesn't mean you should take it out on your coworkers. All right? This is Gen Z's mental state is just absolutely terrible, and they take no accountability for anything. They blame everyone else. And I've said this already. This like the worst of Gen Zers are the ones in their late 20s right now. So the oldest of Gen Z are 27. These are the worst of Gen Z. And then people are like, well, the younger part of Gen Z, those who are still in high school, they'll redeem the generation. Look at what these idiots were doing a couple of months ago on college campuses. All right, they were engaging in takeovers, and it's not just them. The ones who are in high school right now, they're taking over shopping malls. That whole thing, they've been doing it constantly. Do you guys remember the whole Minion movie thing where they were going to the movies and, as a gentleman, and everyone was like, oh, it's so cute. Bro, what they were doing were engaged in territory takeovers, and they were masking it. All right? These people, these people are not the greatest. Do you listen to how they speak? On God, no cap, on God. Bro, that's Ebonics for white kids. Do not make excuses for this horrible, horrible generation. It's only getting worse. Okay? These bad apples are rotten, rotten to their very core. And I've said it plenty of times. Right now, they're quietly quitting. But guess what? In 10 years, when they're pushing 40 years old, pushing 40, they're desperate and destitute. What do you think they're going to be doing? They are modern day hippies, but they haven't fully gone into their butterfly mode yet. All right? They're not really butterflies, all right? They're parasitic, but they haven't fully reached their peak yet. Because in 10 years, when they're destitute and desperate, they're going to be full-blown hippie. They're going to be stealing at a much larger level. You're going to have to clutch your wallet, all right? When these people are around, they're going to say, oh, it's one of disease. They're going to say disease like the word disease, okay? Because they are zombies, all right? They've got the Z virus. Let's check out this video that I actually pulled up, okay? Because it kind of illustrates very much what disease are all about.
For Gen Z in the workplace, employers are reporting that this generation is the most difficult to work with.
You want to know what's funny? Come here. It's not that the new generation is more difficult to work with. It's that the older generation is more difficult to work for, right? Because in the article, it further explains that the newer generation is more difficult to work with, right? Because apparently they're easily offended. Get so close right now. I promise you it's the older generation that is more offended than anybody else. If you don't believe me, go to your boss and ask for a raise and watch how offended everybody gets, right? Or put in your 2 week notice and watch how personal your boss takes that, right? Another reason was apparently the new generation is untrustworthy. I promise you, during your job interview, when your boss says, we're like a family, and then you have to take a day off because it's a personal issue, watch them make you feel so guilty for doing so, right? And lastly, they said that the newer generation apparently are lazy. It's not that they're lazy. They're not getting paid enough to do more than what they're already hired to do. That's not called being lazy. That's called taking a stance and having standards.
Do you see how horrible these people are? Here's the thing: if you get hired to do a job, you do the job that you're paid to do. It's not about doing more. Because, for example, if you do more, they'll just give you more work. Gen Z doesn't show up for work. Gen Z, if an employer doesn't watch them the entire day, Gen Z will do nothing. Gen Zers who are doing remote work, these nuggets are actually going on vacations in other countries, so they have the luxury of working from home. But it doesn't mean that you have the luxury of from working anywhere in the world. If you are hired as a remote worker that can work from anywhere in the world, it's different versus being hired as a worker at the company that is allowed to work from home. There's actually insurance issues. For example, you are actually companies have insurance for employees, and you're insured at the address that you're working at. There's all kinds of stuff, and of course, these employers are extremely dishonest. But regardless of that, you're supposed to be at home. You're supposed to be working from home. If your job is from 9 to 5, answering calls, you are not supposed to be at Petco. You're not supposed to be getting your nails done. Some of you are like angry. You're too square, man. You're everyone just does what they need to do as long as the work gets done. That's the problem because Gen Zers are not available during the hours when they're employed to work. This. Think about it carefully. Think about it reasonably. So they're not getting what they're supposed to get done. There's literally pictures of Gen Zers in the pool, all right, swimming, hanging out, relaxing in other countries with a laptop nearby, which is insane. Okay, because these things are not waterproof. And then they're just basically chilling, trying to get maybe a little bit of work done here and there. This is Gen Z. This is Gen Z. And that's if they even work at all. Because a large majority of them have left the 9 to 5 paces behind. And if they're basically living off like side hustle work, so gig economy jobs, expecting to make $50 an hour doing these things as well, pestering people for tips. I mean, seriously. So, what kind of a loser do you have to be to think that you are entitled to make this amount of money to do low wage, to do low skilled work? And the thing is that they're basically robbing everyone else. Okay, because when you do this to your employer, what you're doing when you don't do your job, you're basically putting more work onto the plate for other people. Okay, of course, Gen Z doesn't care about anyone else because Gen Z's like, well, no one cares about us, so we don't care about you. Like, they're going to find out very soon just how little people care, and they're not going to tolerate. Society is not, like, this is a hard world, an evil world we live in. Gen Z is going to get what's coming to them. Their parents can't hold them down forever. Mommy and daddy won't be there forever. When the economy goes to hell and mom and dad lose their homes, or they have to move, and Gen Z can't go with them or doesn't want to live with them, they're going to be in the streets. All right, they're going to be in the streets like rats, and they're going to be scurrying around committing every crime under the book, ending up in jail. And then in jail they're just going to sleep, fart, eat, play games, do drugs, get tatted up, play with themselves, get laid, and then do it all again the next day. The sleeping and farting generation. There is nothing good to expect from this generation. There's nothing good that will come from this generation. I promise you that. Okay, society is so done with them, and they're going to find them that they're alienated from society, as people are not going to tolerate them. All right, Gen Alpha doesn't even have a prayer because everyone has Gen Alpha's number right now. They're just waiting for Gen Alpha. All right, waiting for the next evil ones to emerge. All right, because people are still reeling from Gen Z. So everyone's like, oh, Gen, we already know what's up with Gen Alpha. We're waiting for all of you. We're waiting for all of you. All right, and Gen Z thinks that they're gonna like rule over, like they're gonna overthrow Gen X. Like really, they really don't know what's up. You got guys like Joe Rogan that are like in their damn prime right now. Like honestly, Joe Rogan is stronger than he was in his 20s. He is way stronger than he was in his 20s. Like we've all seen Joe Rogan's kick. His kick is absolutely insane. There's no way Joe Rogan was that strong in his 20s. He is ridiculously strong at this point. Psychotically strong at like 55, 56 years old. All right. Gen X is going to really lay it out. Like, the discipline that Gen Z was supposed to get when they were growing up, they're gonna get it as adults. They're gonna get it as adults because obviously there were some things that they missed out on. Society is done with Gen Z. Let me know what you guys think about this. We'll talk about it in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA and walking away. And cheers.